Oh man, am I glad that this show is back. Guys, Amphibia is airing again. Do you have any idea how excited I am that that's the case? Like, we're going to get into it in the actual review, but the characters in this show totally say exactly how I'm feeling right now. It's very, very cool. All in all, this was a very serviceable mid-season premiere. I don't have a ton to talk about with either of these episodes, though. I just want to go over some of the highlights a little bit for you guys and try to get you hyped up to go watch them if you haven't. Because I haven't seen anybody talking about this show. Like, I've seen a couple of posts about it on my Tumblr getting circulated around, but hardly anyone is talking about the fact that this show is back, which is ridiculous. It's so good. Like, I'll straight up admit, I had to go back and kind of refresh myself a little bit on the season 2A episodes, because I had forgotten several of them. But all I had to do was go to, like, the Amphibia wiki and read the really half-assed synopses that they have on there, and the entire episodes came flooding back to me. They're very memorable, and I still can't believe there are people who are sleeping on this show. This is, of course, 2 episodes in one. I'm going to be talking about both of them at the same time, because neither one was really complex enough that I feel like I need to break it down in a huge amount of detail. The first of the 2 episodes, Night Drivers, was probably my favorite of the 2 in terms of like tone and comedy and stuff. The planters are still on their way back home from Utopia, and Sprig and Polly were hoping that they would get there by morning, that Anne and Hop Pop could continue driving through the night to get them home in time to sleep in their actual beds. But they've been driving for 20 hours, and they want to stop and rest. Understandably so. And even though Sprig and Polly suggest that they could continue driving through the night, Hop Pop insists that that would be a bad idea, because Amphibia becomes a different place at night. There could even be spirits wandering around. There's definitely going to be monsters of some kind. It's more dangerous than what he thinks they can handle. Which, I mean, sorry, but Hop Pop, man, what comes next is partially your fault then. Because the implication in this case is that stuff during the day, they could handle that. So why didn't he let them drive for a few hours during the day while him and Anne slept? And then gotten back up at night and then drove the rest of the way home at night themselves. But it doesn't matter. Of course, Sprig and Polly decide they're going to try to drive the wagon back home themselves. So while Anne has a creepy dream where regular, non-buggy human food is corrupted by her least favorite flavor, which sounds less scary than it actually was, and Hop Pop has a lucid dream where he makes friends with all of his demons and then goes on an adventure with them, which may mean something. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to think on it. Sprig and Polly guide the wagon through a bunch of kid-friendly horror-themed obstacles. You guys know how much I love kid-friendly horror-themed stuff. And I gotta say, once this episode really picks up, it is a masterclass in kid-friendly horror storytelling. There is so much creepy horror imagery that is thrown at us super fast in a really manic way, while the music never lets us forget that while this is supposed to be spooky, it's supposed to be more spoopy than actually spooky. We're not supposed to be taking it entirely seriously, and we are allowed to laugh at it. And the characters' reactions are very laugh-worthy. And of course, because it was specifically called out in Hop Pop's dialogue, they do end up bumping into a spirit. I can't remember the character's name, but he's got like a hook hand, and he carries a lantern. And I guess this is the ghost of a guy who used to guide people safely back to Wartwood. And even though he's very creepy looking and they were very scared of him, he was also trying to guide them safely back to Wartwood. Which makes me think maybe the guy's not actually dead. Or he was just straight up a ghost, and there was straight up a ghost in this episode of the show, which I definitely feel is starting to lean more on its supernatural side anyway, considering what happens in the next episode, so that's entirely possible. And either way, I loved it. It was fantastic. A very spooky, but very funny episode of the show, with just some fantastic imagery and animation all around. And the end of the episode, once again, shows us that the toad droid thing is still following them. There's another stinger at the end that shows it overlooking Wartwood, following after them. We even saw it. If you pay attention, we even saw it earlier, during a scene where they're barely avoiding creatures reaching at them from out of the fog. You can see its arms grasping at Sprig and Polly. or possibly just Sprig, if the theories about the thing are true, but we'll see. We'll see. I imagine they're finally going to have to confront it relatively soon. And straight up, the next episode felt very much like an older classic episode of this show, except for one thing that I'm going to talk about over the course of talking about the episode, obviously. They get back, everybody's excited to see them, which is sweet, but they're excited to see them in part because, and this is going to surprise no one at all, before they left, Hop Pop and Polly made a wish list of stuff that everybody in town wanted them to pick up for them from Newtopia while they were there, including a special shell for Ivy that was supposed to match the moon shell or whatever it was called that Sprig has as kind of a little couple thing for them. And Hop Pop and Polly forgot. Of course they did. And so now they have to choose to either tell the truth, which is what Anne wants to do, which shows huge growth in her character, by the way, or lie and try to come up with a way to trick the townspeople into thinking the gifts were destroyed. And rather than just say, oh crap, we didn't realize until just now the trunk that we had all the gifts in fell off at some point during transit, or something, right? Something like mundane and realistic. They go with performing an eldritch ritual to summon a Chickalisk, which is just a basilisk. It's a giant chicken that can turn people to stone and has like fire breath and shit. So they pick this thing specifically because it doesn't eat amphibians and it doesn't attack unless provoked. So they throw a party in the middle of town with everybody, stack up fake gifts, summon this creature so it thinks that the gifts are treasure meant as an offering to it. It starts to eat the gifts and then it'll leave. It seems like a perfect plan, except for all the dark magic stuff, right? Except that, did they forget that these are things that supposedly everybody in town wanted? And also everybody in town likes the planters and doesn't want the gifts that the planters got them to be destroyed. So they, of course, attack the thing and provoke it. And they end up scaring it off in a very funny scene, because I'm not going to spoil any of it, because it's worth watching the episode entirely for this reason. Throughout this entire exchange, the Chickalisk's dialogue, its squawks, are being subtitled for us, and they're absolutely hysterical. But they do manage to drive it off, and it was harrowing and dangerous, and a lot of people almost died. But it was fun, and it was funny, and it felt like the kind of thing we would have gotten back in some of the later early episodes. Just kind of cranked up a notch by the fact that, holy crap, the main characters casually use dark magic in just the most offhanded and hilarious way. And of course, at the end, everyone does forgive them. They do tell the truth. They do come clean. Everybody forgives them, even Ivy, who kisses Sprig, and it was adorable. Because they've missed this, and this is what I was talking about earlier. The episode gets super meta for like a couple lines of dialogue here. They straight up have a character say that things were way more boring without the planters around learning life lessons and making mistakes. And straight up, that was the show saying, hey, we know it's been boring without the show on the air. Sorry, we're back. And I loved that a lot. And it's so cool. Like these characters still feel like they've been growing this entire time. Yeah, they backslide and make some of the same mistakes over and over again. But like, you never feel like the reason for that is poor writing. You always feel like it's entirely on purpose. And when these characters really do need to step up and make the right choices, they do. And I love that they were able to use that fact about this show and these characters and the way it works to give us a story which felt like the same kind of problem story that we would have gotten relatively early in season 1, but then ended off being bigger and more exciting and involving supernatural elements like a lot of the more recent episodes we've been getting. It was very good. It's a very good representation of the entirety of this show and what's so great about it. And as much as I think the tone, the horror-ish tone of Night Drivers was better personally, I prefer it personally, this is definitely the true mid-season premiere of the show. It's a celebration of the show itself. Like, I don't remember the names of every character from town, but I remember them. I remember seeing them around, and it was super great to see them again it was like coming home again. It was fantastic. This entire episode, this entire pair of episodes, was absolutely fantastic. And just like the people of Wartwood, I could not be more excited that the Planters are back in my life. And just straight up, it is super cool. It feels super great that the show is not just acknowledging the fact that there are supernatural elements in it anymore, but the main characters are actively calling on them. Like I mentioned, it's done in a very casual way here, and it is, but I definitely feel like this marks a turning point for the show, or could, depending on how they roll with it from this point forward. And I'm really excited to see how that pans out as well, just generally. As per usual, though, guys, I'd like to know, what did you think of Night Drivers and Return to Wartwood? I don't think I gave the title of the second one yet, but there it is, Return to Wartwood. If you have seen them, and if you haven't seen them, let me know. I will try to find a link to the episodes for you so you can watch these if you haven't yet. Because straight up, this review would have been out, depending on when it goes up. It would have been out this last Sunday. Let's put it that way. Except, I didn't think the new episodes were coming until, like, next week. Like, I haven't seen any advertisement for this at all. So I didn't even know when the new episodes were coming. I am super lucky that I saw the little bit that I did about these episodes online. So let me know if you haven't seen them and can't find a place to see them. I will make sure you see them. But yeah, what did you think of them? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, you might as well like the video and share it with anyone else you think might enjoy my content. I'm trying to get myself out there, and I'd really appreciate it if you guys could help. You could also check out my social media. Links to those will be in the video description. Either way, though, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.